Hi, thanks for purchasing the Starting Line Products Twin Pipe Set for the Polaris 9R Matrix, RMK, Chaos, and Slash. Today, we're going to teach you how to install it. First, remove the hood, side panels, stock pipe, silencer, and spare belt holder. Make sure to leave the stock rubber isolator on the bulkhead support. Using a 2-inch hole saw, drill 2 holes into the back side of the nose cone. Make sure that the pilot drill bit is set approximately 1/2 inches or less protruding beyond the hole saw. Use caution when drilling not to drill into the bulkhead or the lower A-arms. These holes allow for hot air to escape, and failure to perform this step can result in heat damage to your sled. Loosen the jam nut on the exhaust valve servo motor cable and disconnect the cable from the servo motor. Then, unbolt the exhaust valve servo from the chassis using a T30 Torx bit. To remove the wiring plug from the servo motor, pull the gray safety clip out until it clicks once. Squeeze the gray safety clip towards the wiring harness and lift the connector to disconnect. Clip the 2 zip ties holding the exhaust valve servo motor wires coming from the fuse box. Remove the fuse box from the fuse box bracket by lifting up on the black safety tab and sliding the fuse box towards the center of the sled. Remove the fuse box mounting bracket from the bulkhead crossmember by drilling out the rivets using a 3/16 inch drill bit. The stock fuse box mounting bracket will not be reinstalled. Remove the Y pipe by removing the Allen bolts using a 5-inch long, 6mm ball end Allen wrench. Clean any residue left by the stock exhaust gasket. Remove the foam from inside the belly pan. Remove the front bolt from the belly pan support bracket and swing the bracket up towards the engine. Locate the insulated heat blankets in the parts kit. Dry fit the blankets into place by aligning it to the contour of the belly pan before pulling off the backer. Center the bottom blanket and mark its location using a marker. Remove the backer and apply it to the belly pan, working from the center out. Do the same with the upper blanket. The upper blanket will overlap with the lower blanket slightly. Apply the supplied reflective heat tape to the sides of the belly pan as shown here. Then, reinstall the belly pan support bracket. Apply a strip of insulated heat tape to the mag side of the upper bulkhead support overstructure. Then, cover the support with the reflective heat tape. Apply heat tape near the exhaust outlet of the belly pan as shown here. Install the provided spring clip in the 1 o'clock position using the provided 8 by 1.25 by 20 mm bolt with a dab of blue thread locker on the threads. Using a T40 Torx, remove the front bolt on the mag side of the rear chassis support and swing down, but do not remove. Unbolt the upper steering arm heim joint, then install the provided aluminum straight-cut SLP spacer and provided locking nut. Torque this to 37 foot-pounds. Remove the bolt on the back of the front bumper on the PTO side where the ground wires are attached. Install the provided SLP fuse box relocation bracket onto the rear side of the front bumper using the SLP supplied 6mm by 35mm bolt, SLP supplied aluminum spacer, and OEM nut in the rear of the SLP fuse box bracket. Then use the provided self-tapping bolt in the front hole of the mounting bracket. Make sure that the bracket is flush with the bottom edge of the bumper and the exhaust valve servo control wire is forward. Apply heat tape to the fuse box on the side closest to the pipe. Slip the provided insulated sleeve over the exhaust valve servo cable. Relocate the servo motor to the front PTO side of the bulkhead crossmember as shown here. Using the bulkhead as a guide, align the bracket top and bottom with the inside radius of the bulkhead shown here. Use a small C-clamp to hold the supplied servo motor bracket to the front PTO side of the bulkhead crossmember. Slide the supplied centering punch through each of the 2 threaded holes of the bracket and smack the centering punch with a hammer to mark the bulkhead drill locations. Remove the bracket. Then, in a 2-step process, drill the bulkhead first using a 3/16 inch drill bit for the pilot hole, then finish with a 21/64 inch drill bit. Apply the reflective heat tape to the servo motor on the side closest to the pipe, making sure to cover all exposed plastic with heat tape. Attach the servo motor to the supplied servo motor bracket using the stock screws and a small dab of blue thread locker on the threads of each screw. Reattach the exhaust valve actuator cable to the servo motor. Reinstall the servo motor assembly in the new location using the 2 supplied 8 by 1.25 by 16 mm flange hex head bolts using blue thread locker on the threads. Plug the servo motor wire connector into the socket and lock it into place by pushing the gray clip towards the servo motor. Using the 3 holds that originally held the exhaust valve servo onto the bulkhead, install the provided SLP pipe support bracket. Use the supplied 6 by 1 by 20 mm bolts in the upper holes and 1 supplied 6 by 1 by 16 mm bolt in the lower hole. They also use the supplied 6 by 1 mm nylock nuts. Do not fully tighten the bolts at this time. At this point in the instruction, if you're planning on installing SLP torque arms, do that before the next step. Install the PTO side flange and gasket provided, with the flange angling toward the mag side. Torque this to 22 foot-pounds. The PTO flange is the shorter flange that is angled. The V-shaped support that is welded to the flange points down. Loosely install the mag side flange using the outer bolt only. The mag side flange is the longer, straight flange. The V-shaped support that is welded to the flange points down. This is to hold the gasket in place. Rotate the flange up and to the left to get it out of the way. Install the provided graphfoil seal onto the PTO flange. Install the PTO pipe into the chassis, making sure the pipe stud slides into the pipe support bracket. Apply WD-40 or similar lubricant to the pipe stud prior to inserting it into the pipe support bracket to make this step a little easier. Spring the PTO pipe into place using the provided SLP silicone-filled springs. When springing the PTO pipe into place, come through the PTO side below the clutch cover. For this step, we recommend using an SLP heavy-duty long spring hook tool. Install the EGT sensor into the pipe using anti-seize on the threads of the sensor and torque to 22 foot-pounds. Tie the excess wire to the stock wire loom using a zip tie. Tighten the bolts in the SLP pipe support bracket. Install the fuse box onto the fuse box bracket. Attach the servo motor wiring harness to the bumper using a supplied zip tie. Finish installing the mag flange. Torque the bolts to 22 foot-pounds. Then, install the mag side pipe and spring it into place using the provided SLP silicone-filled springs. Make sure the pipe stud slides into place in the support bracket. Similarly, on this step, you can apply WD-40 or a similar lubricant to make this step easier. Reinstall the rear chassis support bracket that we unbolted earlier in this process. Install the supplied silicone gasket onto the silencer outlet with the narrowest part of the silicone gasket in the 7 o'clock position. You can determine this orientation by looking at it from the side of the sled. Once both pipes are installed, test fit the silencer and stinger assembly in place. Check the clearance between the silencer bracket and the rear shock tower support member. Due to chassis variation, this distance may vary. Most sleds will only need the supplied orange silicone vibration damper installed to take up this space, but some will need 1, 2, or 3 fender washers behind the orange damper for proper fitment. Rivet the orange damper with any necessary fender washers behind it onto the silencer bracket using the supplied large head rivet. Install the silencer and spring it into place using the OEM Gold Color short spring to the lower spring clip and OEM medium spring to hold the upper portion of the silencer in place. Install the silencer EGT sensor using the provided anti-seize on the threads of the sensor and torque to 22 foot-pounds. The OEM zip tie holding the sensor wire in place will have to be removed, and the sensor wire needs to be routed to the front side of the coolant bottle. Zip tie the wire to the coolant bottle after the sensor has been torqued into place. Install the stinger assembly into the pipe and silencer. Make sure to use ultra black high temp silicone between all ball and socket joints. Use 2 silver-colored OEM springs between the pipe and the stinger assembly, and 2 gold-colored OEM springs between the silencer and the stinger assembly. Check for clearance between the mag pipe and the mag side over structure. There should be at least 1/4 inch of clearance. Check for clearance between the PTO pipe and the exhaust valve cable. There should be at least 1/4 inch of clearance. Turn the handlebars fully in each direction to check the clearance between the PTO pipe and the upper steering arm heim joint retaining nut. There should be at least 1/8 inch of clearance. Start the sled and check everywhere for exhaust leaks. Using the SLP flash tuner, connect to the diagnostic port in the wiring harness located on the PTO side above the clutch cover, and flash the ECU to SLP Twin Pipe map OL Twin 2. When the flash is complete, return to the main menu and select the diagnostic button. Then, select and perform exhaust valve relearn procedure. Reclutch the sled to SLP clutching recommendations. Finally, reinstall the hood and side panels. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us by calling us at 208-529-0244 or email us at slp@slp.cc and find us online 24/7 at startinglineproducts.com.